Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking about how much money people are making flipping basketball cards. For those that are like me, that grew up in the 80s and early 90s collecting and investing to some degree, it never got this big. I would say that basketball card collecting, sports card investing in general hasn't been bigger than when it was in the late 80s, early 90s when it was really hot. So I think the nostalgia factor of a lot of the people that are like me that are between 35 and 50 years old that were around back then, and then we've got a younger crowd too that's entered into the market, which is awesome, has driven prices and has driven this vehicle that it's just great to see. It's exciting. So today I'm going to go over tips on how to properly make money flipping basketball cards, because there's a lot of people that are trying to get into it. They're not exactly sure how to get in. They want to research properly, and there's a lot that goes into it, frankly. There's a lot of research that has to be done on the back end. You have to be able to time things right. So we're going to really dig into that in this episode. First, let me get across that the majority of these sales, while there's card shows and there's card shops, the majority of sports card sales are done on eBay. Not on Amazon, not on individual websites. They are done on eBay for individual cards that are graded or raw. So just know that. And so when we're looking at pricing, we want to look at these sold listings on eBay. eBay will give you the last 90 days, and that's honestly it gives you a pretty good idea of where something is currently selling and where it's been selling. There's other tools that can take you back further than 3 months that we can talk about maybe on another video, but it's a good gauge though that's free, that's very easy to access, is to just look at the completed sold listings to figure out the market on a card. So you can figure out if it's high, if it's low, if it's just right, and so it's very helpful to make decisions. As far as long-term holds, you can't really go wrong with popular Hall of Fame type players. If we're talking about the Michael Jordans, the LeBron James, the Larry Birds, the Magic Johnsons. These rookie cards, I just can't imagine. These are just good long-term holds. It's hard to argue that they're going to drop in price unless there's some really wacky, image type issue with the player with them. But they're pretty safe. One thing you always want to look to buy in the off season. I struggle with this because I get so excited during the season when I'm watching that I'm trying to buy during the season, which is fine. You just have to be really, really careful with that, because I've found myself a few different instances where I'm buying into the hype. So a player is rising and I really kind of already missed the boat on that player. But because I want to get in, I'm buying. Luka is he's really the outlier in this, to where Luka's prices weren't low before the season started in comparison to everybody else. Luka's prices were high. And as the season progressed, they got higher. And then as of 3 weeks ago, they were astronomical. But he is the outlier in that. So you really want to be looking to buy in the off season if possible. For me, I'm really looking at players that are 2 to 4 years into their career and buying in the off season. So let's say we're in an off season, we're heading into the season. A month, 2 months out from the season starting, 3 months out, that's when I'm really looking to make a splash on players. And you have to pick and choose which horses you're going to run with, so to speak, before the season starts, and buy in on those players. And you've got to decide whether that's going to be a couple of players, if it's going to be 20 players, but there's only so many resources, so you have to decide how you want to diversify, a couple of players or a lot of players. Pay attention to large market teams that have a large fan base, like the Boston Celtics, the LA Lakers. These are safer to me. So if you're looking at a Jason Tatum, if you're looking at Anthony Davis, and we'll get into Anthony Davis here again in a minute, but they're with big market teams with a lot of fans, with essentially more buyers. So keep that in mind as you're looking. Go after players that you believe will be on playoff teams. So just so you know, as teams hit the playoffs, prices are gonna heat up. So those are great selling opportunities. So you want to, as you're picking players in the off season, think about that. Which teams are going to be there in each conference, and kind of take that into account as you're making decisions. Okay, to summarize, good buying environments are the off-season or the playoffs if guys are not playing in the playoffs. So like a Trae Young, for example, for the Hawks, he's a hot player. He's stuff is pretty pricey, but during the playoffs when he's not playing, it cools off a little bit because everyone's more focused on these guys that are playing in the playoffs. So that can be an opportunity. When stars get injured, so the Kevin Durant's of the world, I'm sure Klay Thompson's, I haven't seen his data, but Steph Curry, these are guys that when they got injured, prices drop, and then when they come back, prices come back up. So those are ways that you can kind of easily gauge how the market is going to move, how those prices are going to move. Another thing to pay attention to, big trade announcements. The easy example is Anthony Davis going from the Pelicans to the Lakers. If you had bought Anthony Davis rookies leading up to him getting traded to the Lakers, there was all that speculation about him with LeBron, and if you had bought in at that point, then you did really well. The prices went way up when he went to the Lakers. So that's something that you want to pay attention to. Big trades, movement in the offseason, injuries, those are buying opportunities for stars. Now that's not for every player, but it's to stars. So pay attention to that. Pop reports for both short-term and long-term investments, they're important. So when we look at base Luka prisms, I know Luka's an outlier, but there's 10,000 PSA 10s out there. Is that going to hold up over time? We don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But as time goes on, if you've got low pop report cards that on popular players, 5 years, 10 years down the road, those are going to be expensive cards. My last piece of advice when investing in basketball cards, if you're investing in rookies, just know that you're taking the risk of just not knowing. You don't have any data, any previous data other than the college years. You don't know how they're going to pan out. So you're taking a big risk on rookies. In the case of like a Zion, where he got injured during his rookie year and he was already a hyped player, whereas his prices sagged when he got injured, that was a good buying opportunity. Even though his cards were already priced high, they did drop when he got injured, and then they surged over the last couple of months. So those are great. If we're talking about flipping opportunities, that was a great flipping opportunity. But for rookies, just be careful with that. If you got in on like a Ja Morant, you're doing great. So there are certainly opportunities, but with rookie players, just know that you're taking on more risk, just in the same way as baseball prospects. Guys, what other tips do you have? What do you guys use? Tell me in the comments, and please subscribe. We've got more videos coming out all the time, and I'm excited about this topic. I love basketball card flipping. It's something, like I said in the beginning of the video, back when I was a kid, I did it, but it wasn't on this scale. Now that I'm an adult, it's just that much more fun. So stay tuned. Stick with us.